Welcome, today's story is full of drama. Like and subscribe to stay updated. Let's get started.
When I saw her, I greeted her with a simple, "Hi, honey. I'm David Carter, 30 years old at the time. We've been married for just over 2 years. I'm not exactly male model material, standing at 61 and weighing 175 pounds. To stay in shape, I ride my road bike about 20 miles a day for exercise, and I practice Krav Maga and Tai Chi to improve coordination and build upper body tone." She's Chloe Bennett Carter, 28 years old at that time. Our story began in a typical way. I was sitting in a coffee shop on campus where I worked as a teaching assistant. Teaching while finishing my degrees helped me pay off most of my student loans. At the time, I was working on my master's in computer science, and I was 24 years old. She walked in, arms full of books, but there wasn't an empty table in sight. I was sitting at a table for 4 by myself. She looked around, saw me, and asked if she could put her books down until she got her coffee. I said yes. She set her books down, got her coffee, and sat with me. We introduced ourselves and chatted for about half an hour. Eventually, I had to excuse myself to attend my next lab. I jokingly told her I had several brilliant students who would take over the world if I weren't there to keep them in check. We exchanged cell phone numbers and I left. Chloe. She asked me to called that evening, and we talked some more. She told me she was a junior in the business program, looking to get a BA in business administration with a minor in Spanish. She was a full-ride scholar, so when she graduated, she would not have any large debts. She mentioned that she had heard of me and seen me around campus. I explained that other than writing my dissertation, I was finished with my master's. I explained that once it was awarded, I would move to the private sector. I wanted to concentrate on electronic and video security. We ended the call with me asking her if she would like to go to a folk music festival the upcoming Sunday afternoon. She said yes. We dated for the rest of the school year, and I was awarded my degree. I found a job on campus to update the security cameras and eliminate as many blind spots as possible on the exterior of buildings and walkways. Chloe was thrilled that I would be close by for her senior year. A small fly landed in the ointment when Chloe started her senior year. I called and asked her for a date 1 week in November, and she declined, citing the need to study for a test. Well, that night I was in a local campus pub, the Oak Barrel, when she walked in with a guy on her arm. I was angry, but other than the fact she lied, we had not committed to each other. I sat back and watched as the guy tried to do a tonsillectomy on her with his tongue. I finished my beer and went to the bathroom. As I left, I made it a point to walk past them and say, "Hi, Chloe." I didn't even slow down and walked out the door. Chloe left more than 25 messages on my phone over the next 2 weeks. I deleted them all. She finally stopped calling, but her next tactic was to try to find my car. Luckily, I had purchased a different one the week before she turned down a date. Campus security had stopped her several times when she left notes on cars similar to what I used to have. Finally, I was over the worst of my anger, but not over the fact that she felt she needed to lie. I texted her from a burner phone and said I would meet her at the library at 3 p.m. the next Wednesday. Then I added at 5 p.m. "If you aren't there, I'm gone." She was there at 2:45, and I watched from a side alcove until she left at 3:30. I then texted, "How does it feel to be lied to?" Then I threw the burner phone in a trash dumpster behind the campus cafe. That was not the end of the story. I saw Chloe several times on campus. She finally ambushed me when I was investigating a faulty camera on one of the pathways from the main campus to the athletic fields. She stopped me as I was placing a ladder next to the camera. "David, can I talk to you?" she asked. "I really have to say some things to you." "All right. No games. No lies. The Oak Barrel. 8:30 tonight. Not 8:35. 8:30. Now I have to get to work." At 8:30, she walked in the door with the guy. I got up, said, "Hi," again, and walked out. She cornered me again at work. Again, I held up my hand when she started to speak. "What part of no games is bringing a boyfriend to talk to a boyfriend?" I continued, "You didn't know me anything but honesty. We were never committed to each other, but you flat out lied to me. If you try to tell me that that guy was helping you study, Why were you in a bar? And why was he checking the contents of your stomach with his tongue in a public place? She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. I ran into Chloe a year later. She had graduated and was working as a salesperson at a local electronics wholesaler. I was now the head of electronic and computer design for a small company in the town I grew up in, where my mother still lived. The company specialized in the miniaturization of security equipment. We made video cameras so small that the GoPro was a dinosaur in comparison. Our cameras were as small as the eye of a little girl's teddy bear, and the microphones that went with them could be hidden in a tie clip or lapel pin. One of the best sellers was a lapel pin mic that looked like a state flag and had a 25-foot range, transmitting up to 300 feet away. Our company was one of Chloe's customers. When she was escorted to my office, she saw me, turned, and walked out. I went after her. Chloe, stop. If you're here on business, we can conduct business. This is a working enterprise after all. She turned around, and I saw tears in her eyes. Go to the ladies' room and compose yourself. I'll be in my office. When she returned, she was all business. She did not get an order that day, but that was because of what she was selling. We already had those products in inventory. I did promise to keep her company in mind when we needed to replenish our stock. Chloe came to the office about once a month. She did make some sales in my department. The line of products she was pushing was the best value on the market at the time. Business dealings were all that happened. After about a year, a new rep showed up. He was a slimy, slippery type. He was probably a good salesman, but he rubbed me the wrong way, and his products had not kept up with the competition. He introduced himself as Carl Whitman, and he lost all chances of making a sale when the first words out of his mouth were, "Dave, I have a great deal for you. I hate being called Dave. You can call me Mr. Carter. You've now introduced yourself, so can I call you an a-hole?" Carl's jaw dropped, and after a second or two, I saw some anger. Before he could respond, I said, "Sir, you are in my office trying to sell me something. How does pissing me off with your disrespect make that agenda possible? I guess I stepped into it here, didn't I?" He mumbled, "Yes. Now, do you have any new or upgraded products for me to look at? We found a new source that outperforms your products on both applications and price. Right now, no new products, and the upgrades are still in testing." He did not get any sales. When the sales manager from the company called me, asking why I didn't order any of their products, I told him why. "Your salesman is a disrespectful, arrogant jerk, and we found better products at a lower price. Unless you improve your products, we will not be buying anything from your company in my department. I have also heard that your new salesman has made a lot of other department heads angry. I knew that we had a history, but I could not, in good faith, buy an inferior product that cost more." I missed Chloe. Except for that one time, she was always professional and never tried to sell me anything that she knew I wouldn't use. Carl did not last even 3 months. Chloe called to set an appointment to talk. She came in with the company president. They had a briefcase and a sample case. We sat down at the conference table. The president asked, "What will it take to get your business back?" I started, "Look, the reason you lost the business in the first place is price and quality. Another problem with your product line is that the current catalog does not have what we need for our new products. As I told you on the phone, until I see improvement in quality and price for our legacy products and new components for our latest projects, we can't purchase from you. That being said, I have been authorized to give you samples of the new line and the improved legacy products. You have 90 days to submit your components and prices. Will that help?" "Yes, that will help. I also have our upcoming catalog of components. Please look it over. Also, if you find a product you want, we are offering you a 10% discount on all orders for a year, and of course we still offer 21 net 30 terms." He continued, "I think that we have our work cut out for us. Thanks for meeting with us. I know that several of the other department heads will follow your lead." With that, they got up to leave. Chloe trailed. As she got to the door, she turned and asked, "Please call me. I want to talk to you." I nodded and they left. That night I called Chloe. She was subdued. "David, I am so sorry. I screwed up. I wish I could truthfully say that I was studying that night. I messed up. Please, can we try again? Let me make sure I understand what you are asking," I said, a little harshly. If I'm hearing correctly, you want to resume dating me. Is that right? Will it be exclusive or not? Is it to see if we are destined to be together long-term? Yes to both of them. I want to be with you. While we are together, it will be exclusive. I think we have a good chance to have a long-term relationship. I believe that we might possibly get married someday. My feelings are that strong. Now, I had to show my level of anger at the lie. So, I am to take your word that we are exclusive, like I took your word that you were studying for a test the last time I believed you? Yes, I know I screwed up last time, but I want to see you outside of business again. I have strong feelings that I can't forget. Please let us try again. Okay, I guess we can try. I never stopped liking you. I just stopped trusting you. When do you want to come and get me, and what are we going to do? Well, you got me, she said with a laugh. I am going to a charity dinner auction for an animal rescue. They'll pick you up at 7 p.m. on Friday. It's not formal, so a suit is fine. I will be waiting. With that, we started back together again. We dated for over 8 months. I never had any reason to think Chloe was not serious about our relationship. It was Valentine's Day, and we were at a very upscale restaurant when I asked Chloe to marry me. The look she gave me showed some anxiety and confusion. She said, I'm not sure I'm ready to get married. If I say yes to anyone, it will be you. I did not say another word. I got up, paid the bill, handed Chloe a couple of $20 bills. I'm sorry you feel that way. If you don't mind, hell, even if you do mind, your answer means no to me. You wanted to see if we are compatible. Your hesitation makes me think you don't think so, or at least you haven't decided. You wanted to see if there was a long-term relationship possibility. Not anymore, at least for me. As of now, I release you from exclusivity. The money should get you a cab back to your apartment. I am leaving you to think about it. I went home. I was hurt and disappointed. I was also confused. I had finally had enough. I decided that seeing Chloe even in a business relationship would make me uncomfortable. So I applied for and got a job at a company a couple of states and a few hundred miles away. It was actually an upgrade, the salary was higher, and it was a strictly 40-hour-a-week job. My mother wasn't happy, but I saw her a couple of times a month and on all the major holidays. I did not see Chloe for over a year. I finally had to go back to my old company for a minor problem that had come up after my leaving. Chloe was calling on my replacement, and when she came out of his office, I was sitting in the waiting area. She saw me, hesitated for a step or two, squared her shoulders and rushed out. We concluded our meeting and straightened out the problem. I decided to drive back, as I would arrive shortly after dark and was not scheduled to work the next day. As I was leaving the building, Chloe was sitting in the entrance lobby. David, could we talk? She looked desperate. I angrily replied, perhaps too loudly, no, we can't talk. You rushed out when you saw me like your butt was on fire. That was insulting, disrespectful, and par for the course of your actions toward me. That is not a hurt I wish to revisit. Please just forget you ever knew me, and maybe the pain will go away. I started to walk away when she tugged at my shirt sleeve. Please, David, I am begging you. Please. She sounded so pathetic and desperate that I stopped. I will let you talk on 2 conditions. First, we will take no more than 10 minutes. Second, when we are done with that 10 minutes, you can tell me why I should agree to anything you say after you have lied, played games, and then insulted me. Can you agree to that? If not, let go of my sleeve and let me go. I have a 5-hour drive to get back home. She gulped. What made you such an angry, hard case? When we were dating, you were the sweetest man I have ever known. 9 minutes, 30 seconds. All right. I am a despicable person. I am a waste of space. I am a stupid, spoiled little girl. I have told myself all of that and more for the past year. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't. I wanted to go with you that night you saw me with that guy, but I had already agreed to go with him. I lied because I was ashamed. When you saw me with him, I saw the hurt I caused. I knew I had blown it for us to be together. Then, when you taught me about lying, I was angry. I brought the guy along to rub it in your face, but you refused to let me. You did the right thing and I did the wrong thing. Now, I think that things are probably not going to work out between us. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. And then, I turned my back on you upstairs so you wouldn't see me cry. I guess this is really goodbye. I want to say one more thing that I know won't mean much, but I love you, and I have loved you. I just can't seem to commit. Okay, you have said your piece. Goodbye, Chloe. I loved you from about 2 weeks after we started dating. I just cannot take the hurt anymore. Please, if you see me again and I don't see you, would you please turn and walk away? If I see you, I will do the same. As far as I am concerned, this should be the last contact we ever have. Chloe had tears rolling down her cheeks. She nodded and headed for the restroom. I got in my car and drove to the hotel that I was staying at. I was not going to drive all that way back to my house angry. When I got up the next morning, I thought about the confrontation with Chloe. I decided that maybe we needed to actually talk without me being as pissed off as I was. I still had strong feelings for her, and I also knew that my temper had let me say things that could have been left unsaid. I didn't know if her cell phone number had changed, but I tried it. It went to voicemail. Chloe, this is David. I want to see you and see if we can talk without me ripping strips of skin off your back. I was angry yesterday, and I stayed in town. I feel we at least need to see if I can apologize for some of the hurtful things I said. My new cell number is XX5764. I will absolutely be leaving tomorrow morning if you do not call back. At about 4:45 that afternoon, she called back. David, did you mean it when you said you wanted to talk? Yes, I did. I was out of line yesterday. I was angry, and seeing you brought back all of the hurt. I'm asking if I can take you to dinner tonight. After that, I would like to go somewhere quiet, even here in the hotel lobby, and have the talk we should have had yesterday. Would you let me do that, please? She said yes. We set a time. I got her address and ended the call. I called down to the front desk to find a good, semi-fancy place to eat. They told me of one. I called and made reservations. We had a great meal, and even with the elephant in the room, the conversation was civil and quiet. When I drove her to my hotel, we sat in the lobby and talked about ourselves and our future. I started, Chloe, you have done more to hurt me than anyone. You have hurt me more than losing my father hurt me. Yes, I miss my father. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it still hurts. But that wound does not keep getting reopened. When you hurt me, the wound was opened again and again. First, you lied to me when you had no reason to. Then you wanted to rub it in my face. Then, when I gave you a second chance and told you I wanted more, a permanent relationship, you waffled and hesitated. Have you understood any of that? Yes, was all she said. I waited for more. When she hadn't said anything for a long time, I took her hand, stood her up, and we started for the door. Wait, she said. What are you doing? We came here to talk. I talked. You did not. I am taking you back to your apartment, and hopefully, that will be the last time I ever see you. I was no longer in a conciliatory mood. All right, I'll talk. I'll say what I should have said a long time ago. She shook my hand off her arm. Go sit down or go up to your room. If you won't hear me out, now that you have me totally pissed off, I will see myself home. She had just shown more backbone than she ever had with me. I sat down. She started quietly. David, I have had exactly 2 real deep relationships with men. I was dating one of our high school football players. I was a sophomore and he was a senior. We had dated for almost 2 years when we were supposed to go to his senior prom. We were sexually active. No, that's not right. He was sexually active. I was a dead fish. He complained about it a lot. I told him the problem was he was a 2-minute man and was aggressive to boot. On the night of the prom, I was all dressed up and ready to go when he arrived at my house. But he wasn't alone. He had another girl with him. In front of my family, he told me I was cold, exploitative, and that he was breaking up with me. That was bad enough, but then my parents exploded over the fact that I wasn't a virgin anymore. A week later, I realized I missed my period. I went to the school nurse who gave me a pregnancy test strip, and it came back positive. I didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, I told the jerk I was pregnant in the cafeteria. He loudly replied, "How do you know the baby is mine? How do I know you haven't slept with half the student body?" Then he just walked away laughing, saying it was my problem. Another 2 weeks went by, and I was ready to face my parents when I passed out in gym class. I woke up in the hospital, and they told me I had lost the baby. My mother jumped in with both feet and called me every name she could think of. Then she slapped me so hard I was knocked out of bed. As I lay on the floor, she came around the hospital bed and started hitting me with her purse and kicking me. Fortunately, the nurse called security, and they stopped her and had her arrested. She was sentenced to 2 years in jail. She stopped and took a long breath. What happened then? I asked. Did anyone try to help you? Any family or friends? People at school labeled me as someone who would sleep with anyone, even a snake if I could make it hard. I had no friends left. My family? My father, bless his unfeeling heart, packed up all my stuff and sent me to his sister's house. That turned out to be a very good thing for me because she showed me a lot of love and understanding. I lived with her until I graduated. She also explained that there was nothing wrong with sex, that I probably just needed some pointers and someone who was patient. I had been looking for someone. Then I met you. You were caring, loving, patient, and unaggressive. So unaggressive that I wondered if you even thought I was attractive. You never tried to have sex with me. I was confused, I was hurt, and I was feeling like a total loser. That is what I was feeling when that guy came up and asked for a date. I guess I felt I needed reassurance that I was desirable. I accepted, and then you called and asked for a date the same night. I lied. You saw us, and in a way I was glad. I wanted you to be jealous. Instead, you were angry about the lie. So I went out with that guy again and again. When you called and asked me to meet in the library, I was happy. I thought you were going to ask me for going out on you. But you just paid me back. I went back to him. Then you agreed to talk but demanded no games. I decided I would show you. I told him I was going to tell my ex-boyfriend that we were through and that he was the replacement. He laughed and agreed. You didn't play along. You took me at my word and were angry that I was playing games. That night, he was history. I saw him spike my drink at his place. I kneed him in the nuts, and then when he hit the floor, I spit on him and left. She took a long breath. That brings me back to you. I still am uneasy about your lack of sexual aggression. Every boy or man I have been with has at least tried to cop a feel. You never did. Why? I sighed. I was brought up in a very strict but loving family. My dad, before he died, talked to me about the proper way to treat women. Open doors. Say please and thank you. Watch for signals from your partner before you push. I never saw or sensed those signals from you. I went on. I'm no saint, and I'm definitely not asexual. My hands were calloused, and I ran out of baby oil during our entire time together. I want you, all of you, your body but even more, your mind. I want to make love to you, not just have sex. So badly that I'll have to restock tomorrow. With that, we parted. I promised to call, and she promised to be cool about when I could come back to town. Rosie Palm and her sisters got a workout that night and a few more before I managed to visit my mother. After a couple of weeks, Chloe had called my mother and talked to her. So when I showed up at Mom's, Chloe was there. We went out every time I was in town for the weekend. I finally got tired of the drive and looked for an opportunity back in my hometown. I got my old job back, sort of. I was made the overall electronics purchaser. I made sure that when my contract restricted me to purchasing, any designs I came up with on my own time were mine. I already had patent applications in for some extremely sensitive noise-canceling circuitry for microphones and an anti-vibration circuit for cameras. Then, when I got the job, I got another shock. My mother had a brother who died. I was the only nephew, and he never married, so I was named sole inheritor of his estate. It wasn't mega millions, but it was at least go-to-hell money if any job pissed me off. Adding that to my other accounts, I was set. Then, those first patents and a few others made me a lot of money. Being under 30 and a multimillionaire was heady stuff. But other than buying a nice car and a house on a large piece of property, I set up a money market account with the rest. I then sought legal and financial help. They all said to create a revocable trust that pays me the interest or a fixed amount so that I only pay taxes on the disbursement, while the trust pays taxes on the rest. I did all that. This time, when I moved back and we started dating exclusively, I made sure that Chloe knew she had no more chances. If she screwed up, I was gone. She agreed. We dated for another 6 months, and this time, she gave me all the signals of a woman in lust. I did not ignore them. We had a wonderful night of sheet wrecking. She was naked and looked very satisfied. She propped herself up on an elbow and said, "David, it's time. Will you marry me?" "Yes, I will. We will need to talk some more in the morning and go look for some interesting jewelry for your hand." With that, I kissed her. As I turned out the light, I added, "Chloe, I love you." We had our talk the next morning, and it was surprisingly peaceful. I felt I needed a prenuptial agreement, and Chloe agreed wholeheartedly. We also agreed to each contribute a fixed amount into a joint account for daily living expenses. The rest of our money would be each person's personal business. The agreement was to last until we had kids, and Chloe would stop working until any children were all in school full-time. Then my salary would be our living budget. We got the prenup, and it was Chloe who insisted on an adultery penalty. Any joint assets accrued during the marriage would be forfeited by the cheater. We signed. We were married on Valentine's Day. It was a Saturday that year, and started our life together. We seemed to be a happy couple. We were, I thought, sexually compatible, and the arguments and small disagreements were over almost as soon as they started. About 20 months after we were married, Chloe started complaining about the fact that I made much more than her but didn't add extra to the joint account. I ignored it for a while. Then the complaints became about me not doing my share of work in the house. I had the money, so I hired a housekeeper. I cooked about 75% of the time, so when she started complaining about having to cook, I started to cook just for me. Next, she started bitching about not going out every weekend. I told her that if she wanted to go out, I wouldn't stop her. I did warn her that the first time she did, she wouldn't get back in. I reminded her that we were no longer single and that unless she wanted a divorce, then when I stayed home, she stayed home. Between her charity events and regular dates, we were already going out to dinner and dancing about twice a month. Finally, the last complaint I put up with was that I was not satisfying her sexually. I moved her into the guest room. When I did, I said, "Now you can please yourself. I can do the same. That way, if you have a complaint about sexual satisfaction, you can look in the mirror to complain." Then I closed the master bedroom door. This lasted for less than a week. She finally said, "Okay, asshole. You win. I am moving out. Figure out the split of our joint stuff, and I will sign the goddamn divorce." I saw the look of hurt and surprise when I went to the office room and brought out the completed papers. She started crying. "You have been miserable for the last month. You complain about everything we agreed upon when we talked about our partnership. You have obviously got some kind of bug up your butt about something. Would you care to tell me what got up your butt that I have done?" She looked at me, then at the divorce papers, and then back at me again. "I told you I would not tolerate you hurting me again. Do you remember that? Listen, get your life and your act together if we have any chance of being together on our next anniversary. Do you understand?" Finally, she tossed the papers at me, went crying into the guest room, and started pulling out drawers, throwing clothes on the bed. I went to the doorway. I looked at her frenzy of packing. "Do you want me to help you pack your car? In this case, if you go, there is no coming back. If you don't believe it, try me. I am not worried. If you go, I will be hurt. I still love you, but I do not like what you have become." Then I added, "If it will get your attitude out of my face faster, I will give you the entire joint assets. I own the house. You own your car. I own my car, mine is paid for. I don't know if yours is. I don't care. There is over $25,000 in the joint account. Take it and get out if you can't change." Suddenly, Chloe looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You're serious, aren't you? Have I been that much of a bitch? Let me list it out for you. First, you complained about sharing the chores. Then it was about having to cook so often. After that, it was about me saving more money than you. Then it became about not going out enough, followed by me not satisfying you sexually. Is there anything else you want to complain about? Isn't that enough?" She said quietly, "Just leave me already. You're a worthless, loving husband, and yes, my soon-to-be ex. I'm dead serious." By the time I finished that tirade, she was sitting on the floor with her head in her hands. "I really have become a bitch. I am so sorry. I didn't realize it. I think I need to see a professional and figure out why I am doing these things. Please, dear love, give me a few weeks or a couple of months. to see if I can fix this. She went on, I don't like not sleeping without you close. I don't like not having a good night kiss. I miss your cooking. And I don't like the fact that you had to get a housekeeper. I now understand that you were showing me how much you would put up with and how much you would do to get around the problem, me. You are indeed the problem. Now I am telling you one last time. I will not be your whipping boy. The divorce papers are real. Get your head out of your butt and be the wife and partner you promised to be on our wedding day. If it will help, by all means, get professional help. Go for it, I will even pay for it. I will be here for you if you go that way. Otherwise, you are gone if you don't change. She tried to curl into a smaller ball and just cried. I turned, walked back to the kitchen, picked up the papers, collated them into the correct order, and signed where I had to. Then I sat down in the living room and drank a cup of tea. After Chloe hadn't come out of the bedroom for over an hour, I went in to check on her. She had fallen asleep on the floor. I picked her up and placed her on the bed, covering her up. I moved the clothes off the bed and put them on the dresser. I left and closed the door. Chloe seemed to be much better after that blow-up. We were able to let the housekeeper go. She started to cook more than she used to, and she stopped using money as a weapon. She also became more responsive in the bedroom, the kitchen, and the living room. You get the idea. That lasted for about 6 weeks. Then the sex started to cool off to freezer temperature. I noticed. We went from 5 or 6 times a week to nothing for over 2 weeks. I knew something was up, but not what. I also knew that there would be no divorce threat this time. I still had the undated papers ready to give my lawyer the word. Chloe had occasionally worked late at times and either got comp time or paid overtime. We had never hidden our individual pay stubs, so we knew what we each earned. In the last 2 weeks, Chloe had worked 3 nights, had not gotten comp time, and her last paycheck was for 40 hours. Something was wrong with that picture. Last Friday, I got a call from Chloe saying she was going to work late that night. I took the afternoon off and rented a car. I went to her office at quitting time and followed her to a restaurant, where she met a man. They hugged and kissed. I sat in the car while they ate. When they finished, they climbed into their cars and I followed. They drove to a local motel. I saw that he checked in, and then they walked hand in hand back to a room and went in. I gave them about 10 minutes, then went and knocked on the door. Chloe came to the door in just her bra and panties and opened it a crack. I said, "Hi there, Mrs. Carter. I'm glad you're working so hard. I'll pack your stuff and put it on the driveway so you won't have to come into the house. Please leave your engagement and wedding rings on the porch, as they obviously don't mean a lot to you. I will have the divorce papers ready for your signature at your office on Monday. Have a fun night." I turned and walked away. I guess I left too soon. The police arrived about 10 minutes after I left, and Chloe was taken to a hospital with multiple broken bones. It seems her lover wouldn't take no for an answer when she started to get dressed to come after me. I had the papers served to her in the hospital. She signed. The divorce was final in 60 more days. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.